thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Why I Love Flagler County, your local podcast spotlighting local businesses and local residents. And right now, I think I have a local celebrity on why they love Flagler County. So today, Joel, thank you so much for coming on and spending a few minutes of your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for the invite. I appreciate that. It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah, of course. Well, why don't we kick it off really, really quick with tell me a little about your story coming here to Flagler, coming here to Palm Coast.
Sure. My background is actually I've lived in Florida almost my whole life, Clearwater, Hollywood, Florida, um, Pembroke Pine. I mean, just all over the state. And I basically lived in Clearwater, and I basically was doing hotels. That's my background. And I moved over to Daytona Beach. There was a hotel that they wanted me to manage, which was right next to the racetrack. And I then got 7 hotels to run, and and I did that for many, many, many years. And um, I just knew it really wasn't going anywhere for me. I mean, basically, all I was, it was a glorified babysitter for 6 other hotels managers that couldn't get their act together. And then I guess this would segue into what happened is my grandmother needed help, and she lived in this area, and I hired an agency, and they were charging us $20 an hour to take
Mhm.
care of my grandmother. And when I went to go see her, I was like, man, I said, you do such a great job. I mean, $20. And of course, this was 22 years ago too. So and so I said, well, what do they pay you? And she told me they paid her $8 an hour,
Mhm.
and the agency made 12.
Mhm.
And that really upset me because here I'm paying $20 an hour, and most of that's going to the agency, and they're not even doing the work.
Right.
So I actually went home and I told my wife, I said, honey, I am so upset right now. And I usually don't like to say the word spite, but kind of out of spite, I said, honey, I'm going to start a company just like that, and I'm going to do it right. I don't need to drive a Jaguar. I don't need to have a big house on the ocean. And, that wasn't my gig. So I decided to start off. And here in Palm Coast, Flagler County, there was a little restaurant called Perkins. It is where the Chick-fil-A is right now. They bulldoze it down and put a Chick-fil-A there. And I put an ad in the paper and I said, hey, I want to start an agency. I don't know if it's going to work or not. And 10 people showed up. And out of those 10 people, 8 of them said, hey, I'll stick by your side, and whatever happens, happens. And uh, it worked well. We can fast forward 22 years and back down to 2024. And, I currently have about 134 caregivers. And, it's and we have such a great reputation. And Granny Nannies, basically, when people ask me, well, what is Granny Nannies? I always say, well, basically, it's every morning when you wake up and you get out of bed, the things that you do, we take for granted what we can do, our bathing or showering or toileting. We take for granted all that stuff. There's a lot of not just seniors, but people that are coming from the hospital or something's happened and they need help where they just can't do those things. And I always said, instead of you going to a nursing home or somewhere else, most people want to stay and age in their home. That's
Right.
that's the gig. And so we do is we send a nurse, a CNA, into their home and help them stay in their home with help them prepare meals, taking them to the doctor's appointments. We had one lady, all she wanted to do was have somebody, because she was going blind. She just wanted somebody to read the Bible to her. And it's amazing. I'm gonna tell you, one of the things that I get out of it is the incredible wealth of knowledge that's in Flagler County. It is amazing. When I would go into the people's homes and talk to them about wanting care, the stories. Do you know that the man who invented the space shuttle lives here in Flagler County?
Really?
Yes, he had he's passed, but the gentleman who invented the space shuttle, we actually went to his home, and I saw all these weird UFO looking drawings on his wall. And he said, come on in my room, let me show you this. And there was the space shuttle. He says, I designed that back in 1960 something. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, and you live in Little Flagler County? Are you kidding me?
Over.
And I can't mention his name, but
Sure.
the head manager of Jimi Hendrix, He did tours with Herman's Hermits. Did tours with the Beatles. He did tours. I mean, I thought he was pulling my leg. I was like, because he was another gentleman who we were helping, and I'm like, yeah, right. I went to his home. He's got pictures with him hugging the Beatles together, and I'm like, in Little Flagler County, what? So it's been very good to me. I mean, just learning just how much, and it kind of hurts me inside when people pass away and all this knowledge is gone. It's
Yeah.
just one of you know what I mean? It's just kind of a
Yeah.
thing, but I know I'm getting off a rabbit trail.
No, I think
Um,
that makes
but
sense. Yeah.
but it does. It's just the type of things that are still here, and we are just blessed. And matter of fact, today I just met Heidi. She's our the county manager, the county administrator. She runs the whole county, and I told her today. I said, you know what? I will never leave Flower County. I think you do a great job, and I don't know. She's a friend. Maybe I can get her to come
Yeah.
on and talk to you about that.
Love
But
that.
yeah, well anyway, so that's how I did. So now, I have five wonderful ladies in my office, and I always say we're here to take care of the elderly, and we get paid as a bonus.
Yeah.
That's how it's turned out.
Hmm.
And one of the things I did that I think for entrepreneurs is, you need to take that big step. A lot of my competitors and a lot of other people, they, like their office. They rent their offices. They do this, and they do it for so many years. Well, back 15 years ago, I realized, I'm going to stay. This is something I'm going to do. I bought my building. I bought my own. I bought my own unit. And then when I paid this one off, I bought another one. Then when I bought that, I paid another one. And what that cost was, now when people come call me and they said, "Well, what are your rates?" And I tell them, they go, "Well, how come you're $5 an hour cheaper than everybody else?" I'm like, "Well, first of all, I don't pay rent. My building's paid for. So I don't have to take that cost and move over." So I kind of, worked it out where I'm able to provide a service for people and not have to keep up, I guess, with the rent payments and everything else, because everything's getting so expensive here in Flat County. So that was one of my, good decisions I've made.
Hmm.
And like I said, and I just transferred right back to the clients, um, and it's a win-win situation. I mean, apparently, I mean, I've been told I'm one of the top 10, um, uh, employers in Flagler County, which
Oh, wow.
which kind of hurt. Sometimes it scares me because I'll tell you, Manny, with this type of responsibility that I have, it's great because
Mm.
I have a really good business. But when I put my head on the pillow at night, I realized I have 134 people um, relying on me to
Right.
put food on their table.
Right.
Right? They provide they so so it's comes success. A lot of stuff times it comes with you know you know what I'm saying. It's
I
just
do.
you
Yes.
get to the point where wow, these people are really relying on me to provide an income for their families. And it's I enjoy it. I enjoy coming to work. I love Flagler County, and Flagler County is just so beautiful. You go over and see the beaches, and I think we're kind of spoiled with that because
Yeah.
we'll go over to the beach and we'll go, yeah, 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 and then I'll talk to somebody from Ohio, and they'll be going, look at this! I can't believe this is paradise! This is heaven! And
Right.
we're like, and you get complacent sometimes
You
on
do.
that.
Yeah.
But okay, I'll
Yeah.
stop. You can do it now. What
Well,
what any
yeah.
questions or
Well, I just want to highlight a few things that you said that really stood out to me. The number one is obviously you have a lot of employees under you, and you really started this because you appreciated that service so much. And I completely understand that. My family owned a Chinese restaurant back up in Michigan, and a lot of the people that worked at that restaurant were Chinese immigrants. And that's how they
okay?
were able to come to the States. And I just know that they all felt like family to me. Like it was a family run
Yeah.
business. So I assumed they were all family when I was like 5 years old because they were so close to me. And that's the kind of mentality we had when running that restaurant was these people, we're not blood related, but my aunt, she always took care of them. She was so close to them, and so was I. And so what you're saying, it just really sticks home for me because that's the mentality I was growing up with, the value system I was growing up with. So I really love that.
And what I just told you before we aired was, I just found out that one of my caregivers that was with me for 10, 15 years, she just passed away. And,
Yeah.
it kind of just, it hurts a little because, like you said, they're like family,
Yeah.
and they do so, and they do so much for you, and it's just, it's yeah. It just happened. I just found out today, so I'm
Yeah, I
still a little bit
know. Yeah.
uh,
No, I completely
on the
understand.
things side.
Like the the way of how close all of these employees were to us is that we have a family lot up in Michigan of our graveyards. So my grandma is there, my grandpa is there, my great grandma, my great grandpa, and then also one of the employees we had, and then even one of the sons, he had passed away very unexpectedly, very young. They're all next to each other. We're all next to each
Right.
other because that's how close we were, and that really rings, what you're talking about, and it's not an easy thing. So I appreciate you coming on, and again, I'm so sorry for your loss because that's
No,
it's a
that's
hard it's a hard thing. Whether you were
yeah,
close at the time or not, it's a weird thing to understand. And I grew up with my grandma. I lived with her full time from
yeah,
ages when I was born till she passed when I was 18. So I understand what you're talking about when before recording, or I think we were recording. A lot of people, they want to grow old in their home and they want someone to be with them and take care of them, and that's what we were to my grandma. And it was our mission, our entire family's mission. Like, we didn't want to put her in a home. Some people like
right.
that, some people don't. She didn't, so we stood true and said, "Hey, we'll take care of you as much as we can for as long as we can, and we want to be there for you." So I really love the service you provide.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things that people don't think about
Sure.
until it's actually becomes a necessity. And
Right.
and everybody, and I call them kids, but the kids are like 50, 60 years old. But the kids will call me and they'll say, my mom lives in Palm Coast, my mom lives, in Vanilla, whatever, and I just found out she fell and she needs help. And some people aren't as lucky to have the family like you had
Right.
to go in there, and that's where we kind of build that thing. And then with our caregivers, we always try to match them because, as you know the sometimes it gets kind of
Sure. Yeah.
does your mom like to talk? We have somebody who likes to talk about the Titanic. We have this, that, or does your mom want someone to stay quiet? Do they just want to relax? What do they like to do? And so we try to match up our caregivers. And we only had one. I think in my whole 22 years, I've only had one or two that the caregiver and the client didn't go. And of course, we were able to just put someone else in there,
Yeah.
but it's a matchmaking thing. Um, and then it gets to the point where, and I don't know how much time we have left, but we had one where the client, when the client passed, an attorney called me and said, "Hey, you need to come to my office." And I'm like, "Oh." Anytime you get a letter from an attorney or something, you're like, "Oh my lord, what in the world?" Well, it was actually the reading of her will, and she actually left the two caregivers $100,000 because she said that they were the only two people who cared for her in her last times of life. And of course, I was like, "No, I didn't. I wasn't expecting anything," but I thought it was funny. The worst thing about that whole thing was I actually lost two caregivers because the two caregivers who got the money, they thought that they were rich and they decided they didn't need to work anymore. And it was, but it's just to the point where we become family with these elderly people, and and it's always just a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just and we're really, and that's the thing too, that I want everybody here to listen to and know is the state of Florida says as long as they don't have a felony, we can put them in their home. So the judge can knock down things like assault with a deadly weapon and this and that. And my policy that I've had, and I've had it because, like I said, my grandmother needed help. That's just how I started it. Was if you've ever sat in the back of a police car, I'm not interested in you because you never know what's going to happen. It's um, I had a lady who she was 20 years old. She stole something from Walmart, and she was 42 years old. She came in my office, and you know, perfect caregiver. This, and she worked for another agency, and ran a background check, and I found out she had this shoplifting charge, and I told her, "I'm sorry, I'm not interested." And she goes, "Well, wait a minute. I was stupid. I was 20 years old. I'm 42. I never." I said, "Yeah, but what happens if something goes missing?" And then the lawyer say, "Hey, yeah, this person had a
Right.
shoplifting
Yeah.
charge, and Granny Nannies knew they had a shop. So just to be safe, I take it a step forward, and it's tough. It's been really tough to probably one out of every 10 that comes in will actually, be able to come work for us. But
Mhm.
again, it's just one of those things where I do it for different reasons.
Sure.
I don't, and I want to make sure that the people that are calling us, because that's the biggest thing. I mean, everybody asks, what's the greatest thing in your life? People say their house, their car. They'll say, well, I think it's your family.
Right.
I think your family is your number one thing that you ever have. And when somebody calls me and says, "Hey, we need you to take care of our family," man, that's big.
It
I take
is.
that. And if I say yes, I will take care of your mom. I'll take care of your dad. I'll take care of your aunt. I'll take care of whoever. If I say yes to that, well, then by goodness, we better do our correct due diligence and do it right.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, and I'm very serious. That's one thing I'm very serious about.
Yeah.
Um, but if you have any other questions or concerns, I'll be more than happy to answer. I
Yeah.
know we're probably running a little bit behind or
No,
over your time. I
no,
don't
I
want
think we're good. I think
to
you're
get you in
talking about a
trouble.
lot of things that are really important. And I really loved running the podcast because there have just been pretty much every single episode, that is what how everyone feels about their business. They want to put their customer first. They want to put their client first. They want to put their feelings first and however they can best accommodate. And pretty much everyone has that same sentiment of you are trusting me with either your money, your time, your family, something that you care about. You are trusting
Right?
me with this, and I take that seriously. Like I'm taking the time that you're giving me very seriously because I really appreciate it. And it's so lovely to have these conversations with people and just hear that these values are so strong in Flagler County.
That's
I've really
great.
loved it. And yeah, so Joel, thank you so much for coming on and
Oh,
sharing
it's
your
my
time.
pleasure.
This has been so much fun, and I've really loved what you share. Like I said, everything you've said has just hit home so hard for me in really amazing ways. So I appreciate the time. Thank you so
My
much again.
pleasure.
Of
My pleasure.
course.
Thank you very much.
Of course. And
Love
to
talking to
everyone,
you.
thank you. And to everyone listening, I really appreciate you as well. And I will see you next time.